The night of the accident, it was a Friday night, and we all went to the high school football game as a family. My son Davis was a freshman, and my older son was a sophomore. We all went to watch the game. We came home after the game. Davis changed clothes because it was Spirit Night. He was wearing Western attire, so he came home to change and then went to spend the night at a friend's house. And that was probably around 10 or 10:30. And at 12:30 that night, I got a call that Davis had been in an accident, that all the boys had been in an accident. And I was told in that phone call that he couldn't move his legs. And being a physician, I knew that that was really terrible news to hear. And I really can't put into words what that feels like. It's just something that's indescribable. It's any parent's absolute worst nightmare. I raced to the scene of where the accident was, and as we pulled up, the ambulance was leaving with Davis, so we turned around and followed the ambulance to the hospital. When we got there, we were told that he had a very serious spinal cord injury and that he was paralyzed from the chest down. But once we were finally able to see Davis, I was so grateful that we knew he was still Davis. He was still alive. We still had our son. But we knew we had a really long road ahead of us with his recovery and his hospitalization. He was in surgery for 5 or 6 hours, repairing his spine and stabilizing his spine. And I immediately, while sitting in the waiting room that night, began researching spinal cord injury clinical trials and spinal cord injury therapy. And we found that the best place in the United States and really in the world was in Louisville, Kentucky for spinal cord injury research. Fortunately, Louisville is only a 6-hour drive from us from here, so it was a drivable distance. But we knew that we were going to be there for several months if we were going to go participate in one of the trials. So then we started trying to figure out all the logistical things, like not being able to go to work for months at a time, not being present with our other kids, where we were going to stay. And we were told pretty quickly by the program director at Louisville that they had a Ronald McDonald house that was a block away from the hospital, and that we could stay there for months if we needed to without any fees, that it was wheelchair accessible for Davis. And I can say the thought of moving into a Ronald McDonald house for months on end is something I'd never considered, something that we would have to do. My kids were healthy. We lived in a big medical community. I just assumed if my kids needed medical care, we would live at home and they would go to the university hospital here in town. But when this happened, we knew we needed to be somewhere where they really specialize in care for spinal cord injury research. So as soon as he was stable and had healed from his surgery and done his inpatient rehab, we moved to Louisville, and we were there for 7 months, and we lived in the Ronald McDonald house the whole time.
Having mom and dad there was super helpful to me because they told me, like, if you might not see the results tomorrow, but they'll be there in 2 or 3 months, and it was true. And it gave me someone to talk to, someone that loved me there all the time. And yeah, they helped me in everything that I do, so it was awesome having them there with me.
I would say if we weren't able to stay at the Ronald McDonald house, Davis probably would not have been able to participate just logistically to find an apartment that would have been wheelchair accessible, fully furnished. It also would have been hard to pay for it because we weren't working. We took a week at a time. I would go with Davis and Garrett would stay home with our other kids, and then we'd switch and he would go with Davis and I'd stay home, so that would have been a huge expense at that time. So I really don't think it would have been possible for him to get the therapy that he needed, and it wouldn't have been possible for him to participate in the trial.
We know that our community, when they get behind something, that they can raise a lot of money, and so give to the Ronald McDonald House. We are Exhibit A of the need for something like this in any community, and especially in the Columbia community, because we are a wonderful community and we've seen it firsthand how great a facility like this can be. And if we want to be the cutting edge technology of the medical field, which I think Columbia wants to be, then to have a facility like this to where we can help kids get better and kids go through treatment, then there has to be a place for them to stay. And we ran into many families that have kids that are going through worse things than Davis was actually going through. but they don't have to worry about where am I going to stay tonight, or do I have to pay for a hotel room, or do I have to order food, or do I have to pay for food. Only thing they have to worry about is helping my child get better. To me, the community is what's really kept me going. The friends and family, and just the outpouring of love and support, that it's truly unbelievable. When we were in the hospital here, the rally that they held for them.
Hey Davis, I love you, kiddo. Okay, I'm gonna start talking, but I just want you to know how much I love you, and all these guys love you too.
Love you too, Coach. And it's great that so many people are behind him.
Davis has a really unique and special friend group, really since he was in kindergarten, and even before that. He has a very big friend group. They played basketball and baseball and football together for years, and those boys are just very supportive of each other. And the way those young men and their families have supported Davis, it's been really remarkable. And we're grateful to all of them and the whole community of Columbia. The hospital and the nurses and the Ronald McDonald House and co-workers and friends and family.
Raising funds to build this new location that's going to be closer to the hospital where these kids are going is a must. We must do it, and in order for somebody like us to be able to stay in that place, knowing that they can just be really close to where their team of experts is going to be to help their child get better.
Raise your paddle for the next kid like Davis that needs your support. Raise your paddle in case it's your kid someday that needs that support. Raise your paddle in case it's your grandchild that needs to go to the NICU for an extended stay after they're born. Raise your paddle for kids in the community that need your help.